Well, hello and welcome, fellow shapers of the future. Um, Back again at my little hazel thing. I have got a permanent setup here, which I'm allowed to have. So thankfully, I don't have to hoik all the equipment here. I'm allowed to keep a little bit here. So the camp is set up, and rule of thumb: camp set up first, cup of coffee second. They're called fire logs. I They actually expect you to chuck this whole thing on to get a blaze going. Oh, they're that long. As if you're going to use all of that. It burns up to 90 minutes. Well, yeah, that's great, but you know, if you can't get your wood going, I mean, are you meant to use this instead of wood? That'd be very expensive. But this is natural, and that's what I like. They say the best way to make a chimney setup is to have the burn down method. I'll explain reasons for that while I get building. But you want a lot of gaps, thicker stuff at the bottom, a little bit thicker, something like these. The very finest stuff. Just wait for that to get going. At this point, it's best to close everything off. Including the door, which I didn't. But might be able to. And get that chimney on as quick as possible. Now, because we've got the fire source directly underneath the chimney, it's going to heat this chimney up a lot quicker and get rid of that cold barrier that would be in there. And it should just burn its way down into the pile of thick stuff. Because once you've got that draft, and once it's started to light a couple of other little bits of wood, you can start letting air through. But it's best to leave it closed at the moment because you're just going to blow out that little bit of fire source you've got going in there. But that's bellowing out a lovely bit of heat right now, and that's mainly just that little bit of fire brick. Right, it's starting to spread, and it's looking a little bit more like it's established. So then you've got beans, evaporated milk, beans. Keep them all the same way up, like you know the bean tins the right way up. And for what's that? That's quid for the evaporated milk and 28 pence or something for the baked beans. But these are things I use anyway, so effectively it's free. And yeah, you can already see that that's far more efficient. The flames coming out of the top there, because it's just a better fit generally, whereas this one didn't really fit properly. And of course, if you don't need the chimneys, then yeah, a great way to outside of your tent, that is, you wouldn't do this inside the tent, is to bung your kettle on there You can see that will soon boil up. All the heat is coming out of that little hole. There's no other place that it can go. So, new bed. Out with the old, in with the new. And we're also going to have some new holes. Just to keep everything kind of clean, really. Those poles were getting a bit old and a bit rot, really. Quick hoover up. This is just my little seat with a backrest. Very simple. It done the job. Not wide enough. Or is it? I'd really like to make a little hut out of just that. Just build it in sections and strap it together with a bit of hazel root. It'd be quite beautiful, I think. Right, so the first layer is going to be this netting, 3 by 3 metre. It folds up into quite a small space. So the next layer being a survival blanket that costs 20p off Emu. It's going to stop the wind coming up through the bottom and create a little bit of reflection of body heat and whatnot. It's at the bottom because I don't like the rustle that it makes. Then we've got an old inflatable mattress that doesn't inflate, and I'm determined to get the money's worth out of it off Temu. And then we've got bits of picnic blanket that I've had for a couple of years. Not many things chew it, that's why it's still around. And then this blanket helps this from sliding around too much, which is just a piece of foam really. It doesn't hold the air anymore. And just sag in that middle there. And then so long as the squirrels, rodents, whatever don't eat much more of it, I've got my ancient roll mat. When I leave this, I actually put it in the top here now, underneath the tent cover, and it traps it there. And I found that solved this rodent problem. But this will be normally placed where the hips are. The feet will be comfortable enough. I find the hips don't lie, and so long as my hips are alright, everything else is usually alright. So it looks like it's a bit concave at the moment, but I could easily prop it up with more cross sticks in the middle. Would lift it up considerably, or however much I want really. It's all adjustable, but that might be comfortable, I don't know. It's concave shape. So then I'd have my sleeping bag, and that would be it. Inflatable pillow. The top tarp will come over. Not completely, but enough. I don't mind it being open. I quite often like things just as it is there, as long as it isn't going to rain overnight. And this is the next bit we've got to work out. This old East German Army half tent, pup tent from roughly the 1980s. So what I need, extra coverage at the front for the gaps that this doesn't quite cover, but also a place to put the stove jack through. So we'll get the bottom flush and we'll see what we've got to play with. Yeah, that's workable. That's workable, but I'm just going to have a little cup of tea and have a look at it, because there's lots of options. I'll first show you what it's like closed up. The 3x3 metre tarp was never quite long enough, but that is in tradition with these tinker tents, is to just sling anything that you've got on top really. It can be multi-layered traditionally, or more recently in the 1990s I remember people making them out of lorry tarps. You know, those plastic sheets that are on the sides of lorries, and you can make really quite impressive shapes and things in tents, and I saw a lot of those about in the early 90s, and thus has inspired me ever since. So this can be hooped out to here and create a porch, or and then have that over. This is the top layer, which is just a 3x3 tarp, which again I can place wherever I want. The back end is all nice and neat and sealed. The back end is all nice and neat and sealed, and so I've only got to worry about this front end. So long as the plastic is overlapping, that I can have a huge porch. And maybe have a flap. To do cooking outside here. And then when I want to make it a hot tent, So I could have one half plastic porch and the other half canvas porch, where I can put my stove jack into it, and that'll be a lot safer, and get a fair sized chimney on there, and a little spark catcher to stop it burning the plastic cover. But that plastic cover was £12 or something. They're really very cheap now. D&D tarps are great, I'm sure. They're amazing. But they're a little bit out of my price range. I prefer something more like 12 quid. It won't last forever, but then what? Will a DD one? I'm not so sure. Especially the way I use things in hot embers and things like that. I'm pretty sure they're not fire resistant. So, yeah. Whereas that bit of German tarp there, on that German tent, will hold quite a good ember before it burns through. Certainly nothing that would come out the end of a chimney anyway. And I can cut a patch out of that to put the stove jack in, and then have my flues coming out of that jack, which is fireproof. It's about this big, squared, with a hole in the middle, and that's fireproof. So whether I'll cut a section out or just cut an area out, I don't know yet. We've got plenty of time before we need to worry about having a hot tent as such. So I think for now we'll just put this aside. In fact, could even actually add that to my bedding, depending on how much these really awkward, horrible little button things stick out. Far inferior to the American hearth tent, the East German half tent. You can't even compare the two. This is 1-star rating, US Army 5-star rating. And that's the 1940s tents. This is a 1980s. The quality is crap. You can see through it. Little pinholes through it. Whereas the American Army tent I tried and tested for many years. Never had a problem. So if you get a chance to get a hold of one of those US Army pup tent, they're also called half tents. There's no ground sheet, just 2 sheets, and you can set them up in a few different ways, but they are fantastic, so grab it. Unfortunately, prices for these sort of things have gone through the roof. It's ridiculous. Well out of my range, otherwise I would buy one. Yeah, you could be talking £150 for a US Army pup tent from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. But you're talking, that East German Army one was 70. So it's half the price, but a fraction of the quality. So I'm going to need some more hoops to make this porch. Extend it, and hopefully there'll be enough room on the sides. I've got to allow, there's only 3 meters in each direction, so 1 meter height, 1 meter sides is going to be something like that, which is workable. Just means I've got to crawl in and out of it a bit. I suppose I could make doors and flaps things. These are all just early ideas. now. This little bugger. That old bugger will make a bloody good. Overlay for that bed. Now, if that ain't a comfy bed, I don't know what is. I think that's probably more comfortable than the bed I've got at home. Of course, until it's tested, we won't know that. I don't know if that'll be tonight. Don't know if I can juggle things to grab a night out here. But yeah, we'll see. At the moment, we're going to leave it pretty much like that, because I would like a penny for your thoughts on what you would probably do or would like to do, or any ideas, inspirations of any kind, because all input is inspirational to me, and I think to everyone. The more input you get, the more you can come up with lots and lots of ideas. It's like a meeting of minds, a brain tank. What's it called? A brain tank? A think tank. But YouTube is a very big think tank. So, think tankers out there, give me some suggestions. You've seen what I've got to play with. I think it's quite obvious what I'm going to go for, but who knows? There might be some better way of doing it. Maybe even having the tarp just as a overhang and having an outdoor porch. I don't know. Or if there's anything you think you can improve or think that I've done completely wrong, drop it in the comments and I will thank you for it. So the Swiss Army survival stick is getting lighter and lighter, and I feel like it's about the right weight to throw as a javelin now. So I've added a nice javelin weave on there. Don't know what the correct term for that is, but it is a javelin weave, and that's exactly what we used to get on our javelins when we were boys at school. Maybe not that colour, a boring brown colour, but yeah, we was always told to hold it that way at school, the fingers behind the thread, but no, you can't be. If you want to hurl it, that's kind of stylish, but you're going to knacker your fingers if nothing else. This way you just knacker your shoulder instead. So yeah, multiple use Swiss Army stick. Another modification is this on the end. What this is, I don't know. I'm trying to work it out myself, but it's there, and it might give me food for thought as to what I want to do. I would like to make this some form of launcher, because this is basically a Hoopak from what I can tell. I call it Swiss Army stick, but in my childhood I read a set of books called Dragonlance. I'll skip through this quickly and use a fast voice. Dragonlance books, which featured a Kender who had a weapon of choice which you don't see in the real world, I don't think, but it was multiple use, ideal for a small chap who doesn't get in the middle of things generally and just causes a nuisance of himself from the outside. So as a weapon, this would do 1d6 stab damage, 1d6, one dice with a 6 sides, 1d6 stab damage, it would do 1d4 blunt damage, so 1 4-sided dice damage, which is not very good. And North's 1d6, quite frankly. This is right down there with a dagger, nearly. But the other thing with this was that it was a ranged weapon as well. The Kender was able to hurl things from the end hit, and I'm not sure how or what he hurled. So I'm just toying with the idea of making some kind of launcher off thing on the back end here. Also, another thing the Hoopak had, it didn't have a worm charmer, so I got one up on that one. It didn't have a fading X in the middle, but it did also have this device where he would swizzle it round and round in the air, and it would create an eerie noise. And I think that was part of his time travel as well. I'm not entirely sure, but things got a little bit strange towards the end of the second trilogy. Anyway, and he'd swirl it around, and I think that is a bull roarer on the end of a string, on the end of a pole. Now I know a couple of people have got bull roarers. Do you think that's possible? Penny for your thoughts. Could this be a weapon of distraction to create an eerie sound and confusion in the melee, basically? Yeah, could I attach a bull roarer to this, and would it be really effective if I was to use all of this length as well? Is my question, I guess. So, sticks in particular, and life's a hobby. I know you two have bull roarers. What do you think? Let me know, and I shall then proceed to make a bull roarer and see if I can make this Hoopak a finished weapon of choice for the Kender race, which are much like hobbits, to be honest, but they're a little bit mischievous. They steal things quite often by accident, and they're a really likeable race for people, to be fair. But yeah, just trying to live the dream. So survival stick is now changed. It's got nothing to do with Swiss, it's got nothing to do with army, but it is a stick. So we're going to rename it to a Hoopak, which is Hoopak. Hoopak. Of course, you could always throw it as well. So there's another form of ranged attack. So there's 2 possible ranged attacks and 2 melee attacks. Is this the ultimate weapon with 1d6 damage? I doubt it. A great sword with something like 1d12, which is a 12-sided dice, so it could do up to 12 damage. This, at best, can do 6 damage. But I'm not about damage. I'm not trying to hurt anything, I'm not trying to damage anything. I'm just about trying out theories, trying out ideas, things that I lay awake when I can't sleep, and I just get my mind thinking on things. Otherwise, well, you've got to, quite frankly, to maintain a positive attitude. I think us men especially, and women, I'm sure, need to feel a sense of purpose in life. And this is my purpose in life. It always has been. Always will be. Incidentally, I've got to look after the sheep for a couple of days very soon. So it's a good job I've got my Hoopak. Keep those wolves away. They shall be very safe in my hands. I think all I've got to do really is check they don't kick the water bucket over, to be honest. But yeah, if there's any foxes, they're going to get a stern looking at. I wouldn't hurt a fox, but yeah, I'll chase the bugger off. And try and get it on camera as well. Me chasing a fox would be quite entertaining. Quite a short film, actually, as well, because I would run out of breath very quickly. It would start off with a burst of speed and then rapidly become a knackered kind of walk. Yeah. Go forth. Don't know why.